at the door. Wait, that'll do. You keep your feet off that damp floor. I've just washed that. I ain't the time nor the patience to do it again. Come for the job, have ya? What, my job? Well, you're welcome to it. You been upstairs? You spoken to Mr. Walmer? What's up? Cat got your tongue? Well, I suppose you have. Well, I suppose I've got to tell you what it entails, have I? Well, I know there's a war on, and every able-bodied person, and some that ain't, has either volunteered or they're doing the jobs that are left over. But you? Are you sure? I mean, there's a lot of graft in this job. Up before 6, because that bloody thing never stays on overnight. Cooking, cleaning, washing. Oh yeah, cleaning and washing as well as cooking. Oh, I know. Used to be two or three of us a couple of years back. But them days are long gone. Don't mean to be rude, but are you sure you're up for it? I mean, you look a bit long in the tooth. Oh, no offence. Oh well, you knows what's what, I suppose. Well, I've got 10 minutes, but I'll have to get on with this, or else I'll be here till midnight. I suppose you must need the money. What are you offered? 28! Well, I'll go to the foot of our stairs. That's £3 a year more than I'm offered. Still, I suppose domestics ain't as easy to come by, what with one thing and the other. 28. When I first started, 1901, the old Queen had just died. 17 I was, just up from Dover and green as grass. First time away from home. But what with 3 brothers, a stepdaughter and no room of my own, well, I was glad to go. Do you know what I mean? Oh, but I did love my little room. Plain it was, but clean. And it was just above the kitchen, so it was warm. And I was only sharing with one other girl. I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. Sarah, the one that I was in with, oh, she was jolly enough. She'd been to Africa, you know. Father in the army. She'd tell me such stories, I didn't know what was truth and what was fibs. Oh, but I didn't care. India, Australia, Canada, Africa. Well, lots of it anyway. And the furthest I'd ever gone was from Dover to Sheerness. Well, that ain't right. I knew I'd get to see some of these places before I was too old. Oh, but there was another one, a nursey, older and snootier. Thought she was better than us. Emma Payne were her name. Payne by name and Payne by nature. And you know where. Must have her own room and wouldn't speak to us except to find fault. And always running to the master with tales about something and the other. Oh, you would have thought she were the mistress. Of course, me and Sarah were always giggling. Well, you got to, ain't ya? But I never saw Madam Muck crack her face once. Mind you, she didn't last long. Looking back, I could see she was lonely. Didn't fit in. Neither fish nor fowl. Talking of which, better get this in the oven or there'll be no lunch and then there'll be trouble. I miss Sarah. Been gone 4 years. Married, see. So that's the end of her. Her husband won't let her see me. Says I'm a bad influence. Me? Well, that's a laugh. We used to go out together, and although it was difficult to get the same day off, we could manage the evenings regular like. Just walking up and down the prom was good enough for me. It was so exciting, what with the dogs. And Sarah, she told me to hold her arm and don't let go no matter what. Dear, she was brazen. She'd give the Tommies as good as they got. I thought I'd die of embarrassment, so I'd just hold on to her arm. Oh, but I soon got the hang of it. It was just messing about. And if the blokes got too insistent, well, we'd just walk away. I mean, there were enough girls down there ready to oblige. I mean, to be honest, we could take or leave the blokes. Oh no, it was a musical we loved. What's his name? Bloke down the road. Fred Layton managed the Hippodrome. He always used to slip us a couple of tickets. Number 67 he was. So we'll go down there. Always room for a couple of respectable gals in my palace of varieties, he'd say. And the way he'd say respectable would make us laugh. Oh, well, he's gone now, so no more free tickets and no more Sarah to go with. Oh, but I'll go on my own if I have to. Oh, I went to see Mary Lloyd a month ago. Mary Lloyd, and it weren't the stalls neither. Plush seats. Sixpence I paid. Oh, but she was brilliant. It was worth every penny. The way everybody looked at her. Usually, there's a lot of back chat and calling out. But not that night, I tell ya. Not only was there no talking, I swear of them, some of them blokes weren't even breathing. Red-faced and sweating they were. Yeah, I think that's why some of them goes calling out, chatting, showing off how clever they were. But when some bloke did call out, something about her getting too old and fat to have her legs out like that, well, a blue jack in the front row turned round and laid him out there and then. And quick as a flash, she goes, "It's always gratifying to see at least one respectable gentleman in the audience." The place went mad. Oh, I know what these suffragettes want. A fair deal for women. And I agree, of course I do. But seeing the power that Mary Lloyd had, well, I thought to myself, there's more than one way of skinning a cat. Talking of women, well, I know there's a war on. What about the tram, eh? Talk about being knocked down by a feather. There I was, up by the clock tower, when along it comes, regular as a Beecham's pill on the quarter of an hour. And there she was, all curly hair and lipsticks, taking the fares. Well, and she helped me off outside with the shopping. I suppose I don't know why I'm surprised. I mean, is there a job we ain't doing? Working down the docks, in the factories. I hear they've even got women down the mines now. The only job that's too much for us is scrawling an X on a bit of paper. Apparently now that's man's work. Well, so that's that then. Hey, have you got your passes ready to go home? You'll be needing them. They'll probably check them on the tram before you go. But they'll definitely check them at Blue Tan. And if you ain't got them, then you'll be in trouble. Arrest you as spies, I shouldn't wonder. Oh, you can laugh. I'll tell you, this war has brought out the nasty side of people. Oh, I know the newspapers are full of our gallant Tommies going off to fight the Hun, and dying too. And of course it's true. I should know. God knows. But it isn't just the good it draws out in people, but the mean and the spiteful too. When I first got this job, one of the first things I did with my money was go down to get my photograph taken, all dolled up in my new hat and coat, so I could send it to my mum to stick on her mantelpiece. Well, I went down to Mr. Lascelles in Beach Street. That's where everybody went. I felt a bit stupid. Oh, don't get me wrong, my money's as good as anybody's. But 17-year-old servant girls don't generally get their photographs done. Not unless... Well, never mind about that. Anyway, he was lovely. Come in, he'd say. And he gave me this old-fashioned bow. Oh, he treated me like a lady, but not solemn with it. He insisted I called him Franz. And at first he called me Miss Wisdom, but I felt a bit funny about him calling me that, so I got him to call me Flora. Flora, he'd said it. Oh, he'd lived in Sheerness for over 30 years, but he still had this lovely accent, and he took handsome photo. I suppose he should have seen it coming, what with him being a German and a photographer. Perhaps he did. Anyway, a couple of weeks before the war started, I was in Bluetown. Business for Mr. Warmer, as it happens, when I sees this crowd, kids and folks, mainly with time on their hands, following a motor car. Well, they ain't any kind of novelty now, not like they used to be. So I goes to have a look, see what's happening. Talk about dumbfounded. There in the back was Mr. Lascelles, along with a policeman and a military guard. He'd been arrested as a spy on my life. Apparently, some bus conductor had seen Mr. Lascelles taking pictures down by the canal crossing at Westminster. And there were boats in the background. Well, there's always bleeding boats in the background. This is an island, and the Navy's based here. Well, anyway, eventually he was released. And when they developed his plates and found nothing untoward, but he'd been arrested, and he was a German, so that was enough for some people. From that moment on, Mr. Lascelles couldn't go out in the streets without being jeered at or jostled. He was in his 70s, for goodness sake. He complained to the police that he'd been assaulted, but they just laughed at him. Later, a great crowd gathered outside his studio. They'd worked themselves up into such a frenzy like they do, until they just broke in and set about smashing the place up. Furniture, camera, plates, pictures. Nothing was left standing or intact. Oh, the irony is that the military arrested Mr. Lascelles, and this time they'd interned him. No one knows where he was sent, and no one's telling. I remember him saying to me, as he prepared to take my picture, how proud he was to live in Sheerness for the last 30 years, and how he hopes to spend the next 30 years here and all. Oh, makes me feel so ashamed. And Mr. Lascelles weren't the only one. We've gone spy mad. Do you know, the army marched into the post office up at Eastchurch with fixed bayonets and arrested the postmaster, his wife, their daughter and her friend, all because he'd pinned up the plans for the new sewage pipes on his wall. And one of the customers had told the army that he was a spy with secret plans of the airfield defences. Oh, they were terrified. So you take heed of what I say and take good care of them passes.